Okay, we will now be looking at chapter 15 of the OCR book, Trigonometry, page 254. On copies of these triangles, label the sides of these triangles with the label O, A or H. O for opposite, A for adjacent and H for hypotenuse. So they've done one for you. This is the angle that they're interested in. So the opposite of the angle is O. So they've labeled that the O. This side here is the adjacent, so they labeled the A. And obviously the longest side is always called the hypotenuse. Notice that the longest side always ends up on the opposite side of the 90. So that's A done for you. B. That's the angle that they're interested in. So obviously this is the opposite. And obviously that's the longest side, so that's the hypotenuse. And that's the adjacent to it. That's the side next to it. So that is the adjacent. Do you see? So the angle is important, it depends on what angle we're looking at. Because we're looking at that angle, that side is the opposite of that angle. And this is only true for right angle triangles. You know, all these triangles are right angle triangles. For C, the opposite of that angle is this one. So that's O. The side angle, the longest side is that, so that's the hypotenuse. That leaves adjacent to that side. It's the easiest way to work through it. Now D, that's the opposite. That's the longest side called the hypotenuse. And that's the other side called the adjacent, the side next to the angle. E, that's the opposite. That's the longest side, opposite 90, so it's called the hypotenuse. And then this is the adjacent. F, this is the, that is the opposite. That's 90 degrees. So that's the hypotenuse, it's the longest side, that side there, the hypotenuse. And that leaves that to be the adjacent. So that's very nice and easy. We will then look at activity 2 continued. So activity 2 continued is page 258. Find the length of the side marked X in each of these triangles. So question 4a. Now, before we start this question, I want you to teach you something very silly. If you remember this, this will become very useful. Silly old Harry caught a herring trolling off Afghanistan. Okay, so it's a mnemonic. Silly old Harry caught a herring trolling off Afghanistan. Underline the first letters of each word. So, we got SOH, S-O-H, Ka, C-A-A-H, and then TOA, T-O-A. That's one first time, that's one second, that's one third time. These are very important letters. Some people just remember SOH, Ka, TOA. You find it hard to remember silly old Harry caught a herring trolling off Afghanistan. Because these are the formulas for the three important ratio. The sine ratio is sine theta, that means any angle, equals opposite over hypotenuse. Can you see? S-O-H. So, silly old Harry. So sine theta equals opposite over hypotenuse. sine of any angle is equal to opposite over hypotenuse. Just memorize these formulas for the time being. We'll see how to apply this later on. The cos rule. Cos theta equals adjacent over hypotenuse. The cos of any angle is equal to adjacent over the hypotenuse. And finally, the tan rule. Tan theta is equal to opposite over adjacent. So tan of an angle is equal to opposite over adjacent. We will now see how we apply this. In question A, they want us to find x. That's the angle we've been given. So the side that we're going to work out is the opposite, and the side that they've given us is the adjacent. Okay, because that's the hypotenuse. So the opposite and the adjacent. So which one of these three rules uses opposite and adjacent? Obviously the tan rule. The tan rule is the only one that uses opposite and adjacent. So tan 68 is equal to opposite, which we don't know, over adjacent, which is 5.5. So tan 68 times 5.5 is equal to x. So on your calculator, different calculators you do differently. Some calculators put the 68 then tan, other calculators do tan then 68. So in this calculator, you have to do tan 68 equals, and then times 5.5 equals 13.6. So x is 13.6. Okay, so look at that. We should start from there. See if you can understand that properly. It's very important that you understand it at an early stage, because if you don't, you'll be very confused afterwards. It's best to leave it at two decimal places, so 13.61 to 2 dp. You try b by yourself, and then I'll now do c. Well, that's the opposite that I'm to work out. They've given me the angle and they've given me the adjacent. I don't need to worry about the hypotenuse. So again, which one uses the opposite and the adjacent? It's a tan rule. So just like before, tan theta equals opposite over adjacent. So tan 37 is equal to the opposite, which is x, over the adjacent, which is 4.8. Now it's just basically sort of rearranging. So tan 37 times 4.8 is equal to x. So x is equal to tan 37 equals times 4.8 equals 3.62. 3.62 to 2 decimal places. Okay, now you try d by yourself, and I will do e. Pause it if you have to. So here's the angle. They've given us the angle is 45. So that is the opposite, and they've given us the adjacent. So again, we use the tan rule. Tan theta equals opposite over adjacent. Tan 45 is equal to, opposite we don't know is x and adjacent is 7. So tan 45 times 7 is equal to x. So x is equal to tan 45 is equal to times tan 45 equals times 7 is equal to 7. That's the answer for E.